Hello, YouTube. In 2015, large-scale excavations were carried out near the ancient palace of Nestor, located in Pylos. Pylos, also known as Navarino, is a town and a former municipality in Messenia, Peloponnese, Greece. During the study of the soil, scientists discovered an intact burial site, presumably dating back to the Bronze Age. A huge number of funeral gifts made of gold and precious stones were found inside. The researchers did not immediately notice the real masterpiece from the ancient masters, that they had to use a microscope to examine it. Agate, with a battle scene from Pylos, is an ancient Greek gem of Mycenaean culture, made of agate, probably made in late Minoan Crete, mid-15th century before Common Era. The find is dated to 1450 BC actually. Its upper part was almost on the surface of the earth, but miraculously remained untouched for more than 3,000 years. The remains of a 30 to 35-year-old man were found inside the burial site, a dagger, a sword, and a plate with the image of a griffin. Many vessels, jewelry, and combs lay nearby. All these objects are made in a style typical of the Minoan civilization, which existed about 2000 before Common Era in Crete. The decorations show figures of a Cretan goddesses, people jumping over a bull. The researchers were struck by the high quality of the carvings, which once again confirms the influence of the Minoan culture on the Mycenaeans. Upon closer examination of the objects, the scientists drew attention to a small piece of processed agate, 3.6 centimeters long. It was covered with a layer of limestone, which made it difficult to see the real masterpiece in the tiny thing. For this reason, scientists were in no hurry to clean it and pushed it to the end of the queue of the more interesting, in their opinion, artifacts. After removing all unnecessary items, so to say, the researchers saw an engraved agate gem. It took a microscope to examine it. From a technical point of view, the picture is made perfectly and can compete with the works of the classical era, which are 1,000 years younger than it. The gem depicts scenes of a deadly battle between warriors, one holding a sword, the other a shield and a spear. The first one strikes the opponent in the neck. The third participant of the battle lies at their feet. It is amazing how finely the ancient craftsman, master, worked, conveyed the emotions on the faces and the play of muscles on the bodies of the warriors. The size of individual fragments is less than 0.5 millimeter. Ancient objects with this level of detail can be counted on fingers of one hand. Some archaeologists have put forward a hypothesis that the product was created using a powerful magnifying glass. The problem is that no such instrument has been found on the territory of the island of Crete and in its vicinity. Not yet, I will add. The Greek Ministry of Culture has declared these finds to be the country's most significant discovery in the last 6 decades. A scientist named Jack Davis stated that Gemma completely turned the idea of Minoan culture around. In his opinion, the ancient masters possessed knowledge and technical capabilities that we still knew nothing about. Studies of jewelry and other objects from the burial place cast doubt on our ideas about the development of Minoan civilization. Obviously, it was much higher than previously thought. I must add, if more people in the West were able to read books by Ivan Yefremov, the enigmatic Russian scientist, and more than that, they would know how developed the Minoan civilization was. Historians probably will have to revise the chronology of the evolution of art in this region. Previously, scientists were sure that representatives of the Mycenaean civilization somehow exported jewelry and other valuables from Crete. So this island could be the birthplace of the gem. I totally agree with that. And as for the exportation, there are other words to describe this action. Objects found in the tomb on the Greek mainland attest to the cultural exchange between the two major civilizations. Another detail that made scientists' minds worry is the appearance of the man engraved on the agate. The Minoan warrior defeats opponents who are difficult to identify by their clothes and weapons. It can be seen that there is a tartan pattern on the things which is completely uncharacteristic for the Aegean, especially in the Bronze Age. The very mention of such an ornament was recorded 700 years later than the designated period in another part of Europe. Ancient artifacts often give us more questions than answers. By whom and under what circumstances the mysterious gem was made, why warriors wore clothes on it that did not exist at the time. Well, let's hope the scientists will find answers to these questions. We can only admire the finest work of this master craftsman who lived more than 3,000 years ago in the Bronze Age, from 3,000 to 1,000 before Common Era. The Mycenaean civilization developed, especially in the Peloponnese. Pylos then became the capital of one of the most important human centers of this civilization, and a powerful kingdom, often called the Kingdom of Nestor, Saint Pylos, and described later by Homer in both the Iliad and the Odyssey, Book 17, when Telemachus says, "We went to Pylos, to Nestor, the shepherd of the people, and he received me in his high house and gave me a warm welcome, like a father to his son, who after a long absence had just returned from afar." The urban center of ancient Pylos indeed remains only partially identified to date. The various archaeological remains of palaces and administrative or residential infrastructures that have been found in the region so far suggest to modern scholars that the ancient city would have developed over a much larger area than that of the Pylia province. The typical point of reference for the Mycenaean city remains the palace of Nestor. Now I want to read you some comments from Russia. To me, they're very interesting. Ivan Yefremov, in his novel written in 1945-1946, practically anticipated the discovery of such a gem with fine carvings. There, the gem's plot was somewhat different, and a diamond was used as a chisel. Now, my comment to this, I will add, read Yefremov's novel, The Land of Foam. It is available in English. It influenced my life since early youth in the USSR and made me search for answers to riddles and enigmas posed by ancient advanced civilizations worldwide. Who Yefremov was, we'll see in the attached link to this video's description. Let's continue with the Russian comments. For me, this is the most unsurpassed and amazing, unique, antique thing. It seems that the craftsman first studied the world history of art at an art university no farther than 150 years ago, or even dug up the internet in search of artistic masterpieces that can be guided by creating a plot, composition, drawing, honing the lines of the bodies. But there was nothing like this in the 15th century before Common Era. No art galleries, no museums, no accessible collections of jewelry. After all, it is impossible to create such a thing from scratch. The highest artistic culture, education, and training are required. I am not talking about the finest stone cutting technology. We don't know anything about all this. A very dramatic scene with realistic details. Clearly, the victorious warrior has defeated one of the opponents and is defeating the second. But who are these opponents? The helmet of one of them resembles in shape the helmet of a Hellenic warrior of the classical period, a shield of an unusual curved shape, but most importantly, checkered loincloths resembling Scottish kilts. Really a mystery. Disproportionately full legs, small head, narrow waist, and isn't this a woman? Don't you think that despite the super product of this artifact, it's not a man who strikes on the left side, but a woman after childbirth? Look at the stomach of the fighter. It's not a press. A dead man who lies at the feet of a man. The author of this artifact has everything clearly drawn. Thanks. I read with interest all about Cretan Mycenaean culture. The palace in Crete left an unforgettable impression. I think that they will also find many more interesting things there. Some of the floors are hidden underground, a very complex configuration of the premises. Interesting fact. But if that was determined, it's about 3,500 years old, and China, according to its calendar, counts about 1,000 years more. So this find will be younger, but it is striking that the ancients had some kind of technology. The pattern on the agate, which is so exquisitely applied to the stone and can be only viewed under a microscope. That's right, it's amazing. Those are just some of the comments. And now I will say this. We don't know, I think, even 10% of what the Minoan civilization was and what it had possessed. Soon I'll make my video about my take on it, and I'll give you some visual nuggets too, so to say. That's what I wanted to let you know today. And if you like my research, please support me in the links you will find in the description to this video. Please like my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Please tell others about my work. And thank you for your attention to my research.